Our setting is a castle in medieval times in the north of England. Christabel is in the woods to pray for her lover who's far away. It may be the time of the Crusades. The narrative is replete with Catholic exclamations like Jesu Maria, shield her well. Central to the poem are chivalric values such as hospitality and the protection of chastity. Langdale Hall is a dead and dying place, under the shadow of Sir Leoline's poor health and the death of Christabel's mother in childbirth. It may be to escape this atmosphere of death that Christabel goes to the woods to pray, a somewhat odd decision because the castle itself undoubtedly has a chapel. We're told a lot about the weather, and weather is always important in Coleridge's narrative poems. It's symbolic. Here, the still air and the veiled moon correspond to a sense of moral ambiguity.
Is the night chilly and dark? The night is chilly but not dark. The thin grey cloud is spread on high. It covers but not hides the sky. The moon is behind and at the full, and yet she looks both small and dull. The night is chill, the cloud is grey. 'Tis a month before the month of May, and the spring comes slowly up this way.
The late critic John Beer says that we shouldn't only look on individual characters as supernatural presences in Christabel, that the entire universe of the poem is pervaded by daimonic powers. And this is not the same word as demons, but from ancient Greek refers to unseen spirits with the ability to influence our behaviour. Socrates, for example, says that he is guided by a daimon. But in Greek tragedy, to evoke different examples, daimons exert terrible influence and cause bad things to happen. From this perspective, Geraldine herself might be the instrument of another unseen power. This is a pagan way of looking at the universe. It's never made clear, and Coleridge is drawing upon a tradition that poetry, unlike, say, a novel, doesn't need to be explicit and can merely be suggestive, evocative. As in ballads, one character meets another, who gives an account of how she arrived at her present situation.
5 warriors seized me yestermorn, me, even me, a maid forlorn. They choked my cries with force and fright, and tied me on a palfrey white. The palfrey was as fleet as wind, and they rode furiously behind. They spurred amain, their steeds were white, and once we crossed the shade of night. As sure as heaven shall rescue me, I had no thought what men they be, nor do I know how long it is, for I have lain entranced, I wis, since one, the tallest of the 5, took me from the palfrey's back, a weary woman scarce alive.
Geraldine speaks of knights who don't live by the chivalric code. Hearing this account of wicked masculinity, any suspicion of Geraldine is far from Christabel's mind. But for we readers, the account of inverted values of the evil knights gives us a clue that characters in this poem don't behave as we might think they should, or that their identities are going to be somehow other than the way they first appear. Geraldine also introduces the idea of magic here. I have lain entranced, I wis, and tells us that the lands of Sir Leoline have been infiltrated by evil. Either Geraldine's story is true, in which case the rebel knights have left her at the oak tree, as she says, or Geraldine herself is carrying out some kind of deception. And I want to follow these ideas of magical and supernatural presences. Folklore associates mistletoe and oak trees with magic, and from the first meeting of the 2 main characters, we get a number of clues that Geraldine is a supernatural being. When Christabel suggests that they give thanks to the Virgin Mary for the rescue, Geraldine says that she can't or won't pray. I cannot speak from weariness, she says. Next, Christabel has to carry Geraldine across the threshold. And for early readers of the poem, this would have been an absolute giveaway. It was a commonplace from folklore that evil spirits couldn't enter a home without assistance or invitation. And immediately afterwards, Geraldine walks upright again, quote, as she were not in pain. As they make their way through the castle, an expiring torch comes suddenly to life as Geraldine passes. In Christabel's chamber, Geraldine sinks upon the floor before the statue of an angel. Next, Geraldine seems to see the ghost of Christabel's mother, having inadvertently invoked her, or it may be that the spirit comes to protect her daughter from a malign influence. Geraldine undresses to reveal herself deformed, appealing to a literary tradition that associates physical defect with moral corruption. Lying in bed with Christabel, Geraldine places the young girl under a spell.
In the touch of this bosom there worketh a spell, which is lord of thy utterance, Christabel. Thou knowest tonight and wilt know tomorrow this mark of my shame, this seal of my sorrow. But vainly thou warrest, for this is alone in thy power to declare, that in the dim forest thou heardst a low moaning, and foundst a bright lady surpassingly fair, and didst bring her home with thee in love and in charity, to shield her and shelter her from the damp air.
The conclusion to part 1 makes clear that Geraldine has had her will, and Christabel has been altered.